Episode of Mujer, Casos de la Vida Real that really stayed with me was El Niño del Contenedor. Now, that case haunts me till this day. And even though we were probably way too young to be watching it, we still watched it, right? But I don't think anybody has really given the full story about what happened with him because till this day, I'm not even sure he has gotten justice. Because I was researching this episode and it's so much more heartbreaking than I originally thought. So back in 1999, a little 4-year-old boy was discovered inside a cardboard egg box that had been left inside a trash container in Aguascalientes, Mexico. Now, authorities had no idea who he was because there was no missing persons report that matched at that time. And by then, no family had come forward, and he had a lot of signs of abuse in his little body, old abuse, new abuse. I mean, kind of like Gabriel Fernandez, right? Now, this case shocked Mexico so much that people began writing to Mujer, Casos de la Vida Real, asking Silvia Pinal to cover the story. And that's exactly what she did in 2001. The episode recreated the moment a man found the box, the arrival of police, and it included the actual facial recognition investigators released in hopes that somebody would recognize him. And at the end of the episode, Silvia looked directly at the camera and asked, "If you recognize this child, please contact authorities." I mean, she just wanted to help, you know? Now, this episode also told another story that has also always stayed with me because a woman and her family chose to adopt him after his death so he could receive a proper burial instead of being forgotten. I mean, that is so, the fact that her husband and her children were along with it just completely amazing. Now, he was buried as Leonardo Misael Barranco Alonso because nobody knew who he was at that time. Then 2 years after he was found, something incredibly happened. Two people separately recognized the little boy. One of them was his own maternal grandmother, Araceli Gonzalez Becerra. She contacted authorities, did a DNA test, and the results confirmed that he was her grandson. His name was Dylan Randall Mercados Gonzalez. Because his identity had finally been confirmed, Mujer, Casos de la Vida Real returned to the case and produced a second episode later in 2001. Now, this time we learned who Dylan really was, who were his parents. And honestly, this second episode is the one that completely broke my heart because according to investigators and later witnesses' accounts, Dylan had endured horrific abuse for about a year of his life at the hands of his stepfather, Francisco Javier Lopez Gonzalez. It is said that he was a horrible man with a dark past because the son of his first wife had also mysteriously passed away in his care. Now, while his mother, Liliana Lucero Mercados Gonzalez, did nothing to stop the abuse. His mother, Liliana, married Francisco when Dylan was 3 years old. So the next year of his life was just horrible because he endured abuse daily. What seemed to make the abuse worse is that she was pregnant at the time. So the episode showed a teacher becoming increasingly worried after noticing signs of that something wasn't right. The neighbors talked about hearing and witnessing the abuse. Now, the teacher is one of the ones that spoke out after the first episode aired. Now, his grandmother had even gone to the DIF, so like the CPS, to obtain custody of him because she knew that he was in danger, but she never got the chance to do it. Now, one thing I think the show portrayed really well was that horrible feeling that adults knew something was wrong, but nobody was able to save him on time. Now, looking back as an adult, those scenes completely hit me, yes, but a different way than they did when I was a child. So for years, the investigation seemed to go nowhere. The people responsible disappeared, and the case slowly became one of those just stories that everybody remembered, but we didn't realize it was going to be solved more than 25 years later. So the investigation was reopened because his mother allegedly told somebody that they were on the run because he had killed her son, and that person reported it to authorities. Now, another piece of information is that there was a letter or a phone call found, and according to reports, a woman wrote that her dad had unfinished business in Aguascalientes and it was time to get justice for her little brother. So as investigators continued digging, authorities located Dylan's mother, Liliana, and his stepfather, Francisco, living in Quintana Roo. So what really caught me off guard, though, is the videos that were taken before her arrest because people knew who she was. She was going under a different name. They just knew her as Fabiola, the lady that sold flowers. She appeared to be living a completely normal life. She was a little bit shy. She lived a humble life with several of her children. She was still with that man, unfortunately. Then I saw her booking picture, and is it just me or is she smirking? Like there's something about that expression on her face that really bothers me. me. Maybe it was because I kept thinking about the little boy that never got the chance to grow up. And that's what makes this story so emotional. Like, I'm happy after all these years that they're, being held accountable, but I can't find any information on what their sentencing is. So I will keep looking. I don't know if I might have to do a part two, but this case still has me on a chokehold. It is impossible not to wonder what was life for the other children that remained in the home. But for Dylan, I don't want us to remember him as El Niño del Contenedor. I want us to remember him as Dylan Randall Mercado Gonzalez. Have you seen this episode? Let me know, what do you think? Do you have any information on what their sentencing has been, or have they not been sentenced yet? I don't know, but they got arrested in 2025. But let me know, what do you guys think in the comments? Don't forget to like my video, share it, and follow me for more videos like